Hi, welcome to UTAN Media. Today we are here with Libby Wynn,
Hailey Martin,
and Jovani Flores.
Today we will be comparing the Harry Potter books and movies. We're going to talk about how they're different and some of our opinions on them.
We're going to start off with our first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. In this book, the main character, Harry Potter, finds out he's a wizard and he will be attending the wizarding school, Hogwarts, where he befriends Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger and finds out the truth about his parents' deaths. Between the books and the movies, the book has a higher rating of 9.4 out of 10. The movie has a rating of 8.1 out of 10.
What are you guys' thoughts on the books compared to the movies?
I like the books more.
I agree. I think they go into a lot more detail.
I'm a movie guy. I can't sit there and read something. That takes up too much time. We're going to be talking about the second book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. In this book, Harry goes back for his second year of Hogwarts, and while he's there, strange things do start to happen where people get petrified left and right, and people also start to suspect Harry because he is able to speak. Was it Parcel tongue? Yeah, he's able to speak to snakes, so they think it's him. And so him and his friends set out to find out who is actually behind what is going on in Hogwarts. The book has a rating of a 9.6 out of 10, and the movie has a rating of 8.2 out of 10. What are you guys' thoughts on the book and movie?
Okay, well, so since we're talking about the second one, the first and the second book and movie are probably my least favorite out of the entire series.
I really like the second one.
The second one is pretty good. I do like the storyline of it, and it gives some background on our villain, Voldemort.
I feel like you never get to know Voldemort until like the end of the series.
Yeah.
Because all you do is just hear about him and like leading up to him coming back, and then
it always kind of like surprised me that, like, I know that Dumbledore was teaching when Tom Riddle was in school, but it's just the fact that no one else really talks about Tom Riddle.
I think it's because like he's such like a evil character in their world that nobody likes to bring him up, and that's why they don't like. That's why they say he who should not be named.
Yeah, they don't even like to say his name.
Yeah.
So.
Our next book is the third book, and it is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. So in this book, Harry goes back to Hogwarts for yet another year, and while he's there, a notorious killer, Sirius Black, escapes from a high security prison for wizards, which is Azkaban, and he's partially blamed with Harry's parents' death. And Sirius Black is said to be roaming near Hogwarts to kill Harry and finish what he started. The book rating has a 9.6 out of 10, while the movie has a 9 out of 10. What are your guys' thoughts on this book / movie?
I really like this movie. This is definitely in the top 3 of my favorite Harry Potter movies. I just really like the storyline of it. This one particularly because how it started off with like Harry really hating Sirius, and then later on finding out that like Sirius was actually a really good friend of his parents and the one they entrusted to be his goddad technically.
Yeah.
And all like what happened with all this and how they ended up, helping him, building a really good relationship with that. I think it was a pretty good movie in my opinion.
It's definitely not on the highest list. I mean, it's definitely where Harry like finds out that he has some family left out there, which I think is really good. But I definitely think that the movie could use some work because I feel like it doesn't go into detail as much as the book does about everything.
Well, for both the book and the movie, this is probably in my top 3 of all-time favorites. I love this one. I think it's just like, it's kind of the start of like the darkening of the series, like especially the like Warner Bros. Intro. Like it's super light in the first 2 movies, and then the third one is kind of where it like switches and it starts going like darker. But I do like that even though it kind of has some dark undertones with like Harry finding out more about his parents' death, he finds someone else that even though it's not like a blood relative, it's still his family.
Yeah.
And it's like a big thing for him, and I really enjoy watching that. So.
But next up is the fourth book, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In this book, a wizarding competition called the Triwizard Tournament is held at Hogwarts between 3 different schools. One student from each of the 3 schools is chosen to compete, but the competitors must be 17 to be chosen. So one person from each of the schools did get chosen, and then Harry gets chosen as a 4th person, so he has to compete in the tournament. The book got a 9.6 out of 10, and the movie has an 8.8 out of 10. Personally, out of all the movies, this is definitely my favorite one because it's just something about it. I don't know. I love this movie. The book is really great. I feel like a lot of characters have big roles in this movie, or in this book, but the movie doesn't really show all the roles that everyone has to like help Harry in this book.
This book and then the 5th one are the 2 that I can really tell a lot of the differences between, and I remember all the differences. Like, I'm pretty sure in the book, I haven't read it since like 6th grade, so that's been like 5-ish years maybe, I don't know. So I don't remember it very vividly, but I'm pretty sure like Neville had a bigger job in helping Harry.
Yes,
yeah, like with the gillyweed or jillyweed, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And like in the movie, it was kind of just like Professor Moody was just like, yeah,
here, eat this.
Yeah, go and tell Harry about this. So then Neville went and told him. And I think it also leaves out a lot about like Dobby and the house elves, because Dobby worked at Hogwarts, and Hermione came up with Spew in this book, which was like free the house elves type thing, because that whole house elf being like the servant was just like super unethical, and she got made fun of a lot for it.
I feel like the movie doesn't really tell you too much about like Cedric and where he came from, because it kind of just throws him in there, because like he's the person who's originally supposed to be the one from Hogwarts, and then also the Victor Crumb from the
Durmstrang.
Yeah, and then the girl too, I can't remember her name, but yeah. I did like this one though, because it also like kind of shows the dark side of Voldemort, and like how evil he truly is because of what like the ending is. Like when it's just Harry and Cedric, and then when they're in the maze, they both get taken to where Voldemort's,
it's like a graveyard.
Yeah, it's like the graveyard where like his body was or whatever, and Cedric ends up getting murdered by Voldemort.
Yeah, and I think kind of like with the graveyard scene, I think this is kind of where Harry starts to realize like how dark everything is, and how much danger he's in. And even though like he doesn't always stick with it, like in the next movie/book, he's kind of like stupid at the ending or whatever, like going to the ministry, but I think he kind of starts to realize that like my life is in danger all the time, and like I have this person going after me, and he's not going to stop.
I also think he also just kind of wants to get like the answers of why no one will like give him the whole story. So that's why he does like end up doing a lot of dumb things, is because no one will give him the answer like that he's actually looking for. So I can see where he's coming from in that aspect. The next book we're going to be talking about in movie is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. In this book, Harry has to go to trial after using magic in front of his Muggle cousin, which is just a non-magic human, before he's able to return back to Hogwarts, because a Death Eater is sent after him when he is at a park and his cousin's over there too. But during this time, he starts to get nightmares, and his mentor / the headmaster, Dumbledore, almost refuses to even look him in the eyes, and they're like, everybody's kind of like keeping away from him in this, like at the start of it, and he's kind of more being left alone without like any friends really. And there's also a new professor at Hogwarts, and they changed the curriculum because they didn't want Dumbledore and all the students to learn how to fight, to create an army against the minister. The book rating is 9.4 out of 10, and the movie is not too good. It's a 7.8 out of 10.
This book was really long too. It was like, I looked at it in our speech teacher's library the other day, and it's like almost 900 pages. It's like a lot. And I never really, like, I always knew that it was a lot, but I never really, like, that didn't kind of dawn on me that it's almost 900 pages long.
Yeah, and I feel like with books this long, it's hard to get all the details into the movies, which doesn't make it as good, which is probably why the books have a higher rating. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they, like, I don't know, they changed a lot because obviously, like, as you said, it's really hard to get everything in the movie when it's like an almost 900 page book. Like, you have to fit it into this 2.5 hour movie, if that, like 2 hours 20 minutes.
Yeah, because if you go over really anything, it's just kind of makes it a boring movie.
So our sixth book is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. In this book, Harry and his friends find a book, and the owner is the self-proclaimed Half-Blood Prince, and Harry tries to figure out who this guy is throughout, like, the whole book, and he doesn't find out until the end, obviously. And the book just has, like, potions and spells in it and just stuff written in the margins. And it can help them, it can ruin them, all that kind of stuff, like, you know. So while Harry and his friends use the book, they're also trying to find out who this guy is. And the book rating is a 9.4 out of 10, and the movie is an 8.4 out of 10.
I do like this movie though. I really did like it. It was a pretty good movie. I think it took him too long in a way to find out who the Half-Blood Prince was.
And he kind of had to, like, have it be told to him. Like, he didn't really figure it out on his own.
when I was reading this book, I was like, it's kind of like you try to figure out who the Half-Blood Prince is as well.
Like before them.
And it was really hard. Like, they never gave any clues to anything, and he kind of, like, as you said, he had to get it told to him, and he couldn't, like, figure it out on his own, which, like, I feel like that's how a lot of these books go, is that he has to get told things, and he doesn't really, like, figure a lot out on his own.
Yeah, and plus he's, like, because he's the chosen one, so like all these adults want to help him, and then the kids that aren't like Draco Malfoy, like the kids like Neville and Ron, they all want to like help him out, and he's just a teenager and he doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
But this was definitely, I think, my favorite book and movie. I extremely disliked both of them for a long time just because they weren't my favorite. Like it was probably near like Chamber of Secrets, Sorcerer's Stone, like on my list, like it was really low. Yeah. And then like recently, like I see recently as in like a year recently, I just started like, I rewatched the movie and I just really like it a lot more now than I used to.
Lastly is the seventh book, which is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. In this book, Harry and his friends have to go on the run when the Ministry of Magic becomes corrupted by Death Eaters, which are Voldemort's followers. Their goal is to destroy all the Horcruxes, which there are 7, and they're part of Voldemort's soul that help him like stay alive. So when they kill or take out a Horcrux, they basically are taking out a part of Voldemort. This takes them back to Hogwarts, where Harry's biggest enemy, Voldemort, has returned to get his revenge, breaking out in a battle. So it's known as like the Battle of Hogwarts, right? Yeah. And in this book, a lot of people die.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of people do die.
It's so sad.
The book rating was a 9.6 out of 10, and the movie, there's 2 movies actually. The first one, which is part 1, it was a 7.7 out of 10, which is not so good. But part 2 was a 9.6, which is the same as the book.
I think the reason why the part 1 rating is so low is because it was building up, and it was just like, it was kind of boring. It was
kind of a boring build up, but then it got really good in the second one, which that's kind of what saved like the movies, is that one, I would say. And
I think this book needed to be split into 2 parts. Like, you couldn't do this.
Because it's such a big book.
Yeah, you couldn't do it justice. Like, kind of like with the Hunger Games, like the Mockingjay had to be split into 2 movies. Like, it's just, when you have like the end of something like that, you can't just put it in one movie, because it just won't do it justice.
And in this book, they're not only like searching for the Horcruxes, but I feel like they're also trying to find the Deathly Hollows as well,
Yeah.
which is like a bunch of adventures into like one thing, which is a lot, but
I mean, they do end up getting it, but a lot of people did have to die in order for them to get that.
The one thing that annoyed me about the second movie was the epilogue, because it's not like that far forward. Like, they're in their 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
Like their early 40s.
They're sending the kids off.
Yeah, like what's their oldest kid? Their oldest kid is like 13. Like,
Yeah, like their age when they went to Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And, like, all met.
and they made them look like they were like 60 or like 70 even. Like, do you guys remember Draco Malfoy? He literally looks like he's like going on 80. It's not good.
I feel like it's because they had to CGI that because they were so like young, so like in a way, so they had to CGI them like in the future because like in like these movies they were actually like 21, 22 in real life, so like having to push them to be like 40 is with like it's kind of a stretch, but so it didn't look the greatest, but I still did like it.
yeah. I definitely feel like, not that there could have been like another book, but like there definitely could have been more about
There could have been
all
more
their
movies.
lives and their future, and not just like the short little part.
They are coming out with the new like show about
Yes,
it too.
I am very excited for the
I'm
show.
also super excited.
Yeah.
But like, I'm really scared because I feel like, especially
It has to live up to like how the hype is about
Yeah.
it. It has
Which,
to live up
like-
to it, and that's gonna be hard to do.
because of like with everything, if they are like remaking something or they're like turning something into something, like I really like the Last of Us video game, and they recently made that into an HBO show, and it's really hard to like obviously cast actors that look the same as like the original characters.
And they can like act the same as well as
Yes,
them.
because I feel like especially Daniel Radcliffe, like he's known as
He's
Harry Potter.
the Harry
Yeah, like
Potter.
he's
The-
known as.
So I feel like it's gonna be really hard, like casting wise, because there's so many like good actors and actresses like upcoming, and there's a lot of really good talent out there, but it's just gonna be really hard to like live up to that they already had, you know.
Yeah.
But for the overall rating of the books, the average is a 9.5 out of 10, and the overall average rating for the movies is an 8.5. We thank you for listening to our opinions about these books and the movies as well.